Hi, I'm Dan with Droneblog, and today we are going to review the Autel Evo Lite Plus. This is a drone that many individuals might not have realized has many of the professional features that we are looking for. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the premium bundle that's offered by Autel. We're going to look and see what's in the bag. So let's do that now. This is the bag that comes with the premium bundle. As you can see, it's actually quite well made. It's thick. The zippers have a really good feel to them, quite sturdy. And this is what is in the bag. Yes, we've got everything you can imagine that fits in this particular bag. So we have an assortment of cables. We've also got the control sticks. We've got the charging hub. We have the cable that's used for charging the charging brick. ND filters. Intelligent flight batteries, and there's 3 of those that are included in this particular package. The drone itself. We also have the redesigned controller that is used for the Autel Evo Lite Plus and the Nano and Nano Plus series drones. Now, looking at this drone in particular, we see that it is very solidly made, and it's a decent size as well. Everything opens with a nice thud, and it feels very solid. No flexing. The motors are connected quite well. No issues whatsoever there. Now, you might be asking yourself, is it worth the extra cost to purchase the premium bundle? Well, that depends on what in particular you're looking for. See, the Autel Evo Lite Plus can fly about 34, 37 minutes it's advertised for. Of course, you'll get a little bit less than that depending on the wind conditions. So an individual might feel like, well, only one battery is actually needed. But the premium bundle, of course, includes 3 batteries. The standard includes the 1 battery, a drone, charging cables, and also the remote control. So, is it worth it? Well, if you're someone who plans on going on an excursion, someone who plans to film more than perhaps a half an hour, then the premium bundle is something that you may be looking for. With the 3 batteries, you can get approximately an hour and a half of flying time. Now, of course, not only do you have the extra 2 batteries, but you also have the ND filters. Now, what's so important about the ND filters? ND filters, or neutral density filters, are used so that when filming video, you're able to keep the shutter speed double of what your frame rate is. What does that mean? That means that if you are filming 24 frames a second, then you would want a shutter speed of 48. Now, you can't get that on any camera or drone, but you can get 50. So you'd want to set your shutter speed to approximately 50. If you're shooting in 30 frames per second, then you'd want 60 as your shutter speed, 60 frames per second, then 120, etc. Now, individually, if you were to get the bag, the neutral density filters, the additional batteries, that's going to run you $300-400 more than if you were just to simply purchase the drone. So with the current pricing of the premium bundle, it actually makes sense to get everything included as opposed to piecing the drone together, the various pieces, as the days, the weeks, and the months go on. We talked a little bit about the premium bundle bag that everything came in, and I wanted to actually revisit that because the bag is actually quite useful. As was mentioned, the bag is very rugged. It's made of a durable material. There's also compartments built in for everything that you could possibly need. We have a compartment for the drone. We have a compartment for the cables, the charging hub, the charging cables, for the batteries, both batteries, because of course you probably have one already installed on the drone. And then there's a compartment for the remote controller. On the top, there is a section here where you can put in the propellers, the cables that connect the controller, as well as any other small thing, maybe even a phone that you'd want to put in here. And then the front of the bag has a slot or a pocket where you can put other items, such as the ND filters or whatever else you would need. Now, this adjustable strap, I actually like this. It's actually really comfortable. You just carry it sling across the body. But one of the things that I really do like about this bag is that there is a handle. Unlike some of the other drones that I own, the bags that come with the combos, they don't have handles like this. So this is a convenient handle to carry with. Now, moving on to some of the things that make this drone really easy to fly and comfortable is the RC, or the remote controller. Now, as you'll notice here, this RC is a lot different than the RC that was used for the original Evo. Those have a different type of RC that wasn't as comfortable as this. But looking at this remote, we see that it feels and almost looks like an Xbox type remote. And that's something that I personally enjoy because they're comfortable. I'm a gamer and I enjoy using my Xbox controllers. Now, looking at this redesign, we see that this controller is also, just like with the rest of the components, very sturdy. There's no creaking or any flexing. It's made out of good quality materials. Also, it slides enough so that you can fit any type of phone. I've got large Max phones, I've got large Samsung phones, and they all fit just fine in here. Now, something that I didn't really like about this particular controller is that there is nowhere here on this controller where you can store any of these sticks. After you put the sticks on, well, you're good to go. But if you're going to pack this up in the bag that came with the premium bundle, then you'll have to remove the sticks. You might lose them. I know personally I don't like having thumbsticks in my pocket rolling around because I'll lose them. So this is a design flaw that I see, something that Autel can improve upon in later iterations of their controller. But one of the good things is that there are individuals online who have 3D printed solutions that attach to the controller in which you can put your flight sticks in. The charging hub. Now, this, I really like the charging hub. Why? Because it's flat. Looking at it, it doesn't take up too much space. You can slide it in the bag that it came with. You can slide it in the backpack, and it's pretty much unobtrusive. Now, when you charge your batteries, they actually easily slide onto the hub. You just basically put them on and slide them. Get the necks, put it on, slide it in, and you just do that for all the batteries. Now, some individuals have made mention that when they've used the charging hub, that the batteries were able to come off easily. Now, that could be the case if the charging hub is moved around, but if you have a designated place for it and you put the batteries on, they pretty much stay in place. So I think that this is a fairly good design. It's a bit different than the previous charging hub for the Autel Evo and the Evo 2, where that was a vertical charging hub where you can put 4 batteries. The only negative that I do see with this charging hub is the fact that you can only charge 3 batteries at a time. So that's something that Autel might want to look into in the future, having a charging hub that is able to charge 4 batteries instead of just 3. We'll talk a little bit about the build quality of the Autel Evo drone itself. Now, as I mentioned, it is a very solid drone. It has carbon fiber legs. It's got large motors. When you look into the motors, there are no types of frayed wires or anything. Everything moves with a nice, solid feel to it. This stability, the solidness of this drone, also translate into how well the drone flies. And we'll talk a little bit more about how well it flies shortly. But again, the drone, the materials used, the camera, the gimbal is all metal. Everything about this says that the drone is a premium piece of equipment, something that will last for quite a long time. We were talking about the camera that is found on the Evo Lite Plus. What's so special about this camera? Well, the first thing that stands out is that it is a 1-inch sensor camera. What does that mean? Well, it takes excellent 20 megapixel photos. See, having a 1-inch camera enables the drone to have better low light performance when shooting in darker areas, such as maybe at sunrise, sunset, twilight, even at night. Now, the camera is able to shoot in 2 formats. You have RAW and then you have JPEG. Now, the RAW is what individuals who shoot professionally are going to want to use. See, when you have RAW photos, you're able to manipulate every aspect of the photos that you're taking, that image. The drone also shoots in JPEG. Now, JPEG may be something that those who really want to just snap a picture, do minimal grading, and then send it immediately would want to use. Now, not only this, now we'll move on to the video side. This camera also is reported to shoot 6K video. Now, many individuals' monitors and TVs can't actually interpret 6K, but being able to have that future-proofing built in is something that is that's appreciated, very much appreciated. To show off some of the images that can be taken in various lighting conditions, we'll look at some taken at the beach. We'll also look at a few images that were taken during sunset and sunrise. And we can see that the camera, again, is fantastic. You'll notice that the highlights, the shadows are all present and nothing looks crushed or destroyed. Now, something else in regard to the Evo Plus that I really liked is how well it shoots in auto mode. Now, I personally do 50% photos, 50% videos for our business clients. So for the purposes of this review, I did do quite a bit of shooting in auto, and I was pleasantly surprised. When in auto mode, the Evo was easily able to match up the video with the conditions that were outside. Now, it actually did this quite well. For one of the clips that I'll show here, I flew the Evo at sunrise. The sun had just pretty much come up, maybe 10 minutes after sunrise or so. But as can be seen in the video, it looked great. There was no kinds of banding. There was no noise to speak of. The Evo did a great job in auto mode. Later on in the day, I also was able to fly it at a local area somewhere close to me that had some shade as it flew underneath the trees and then out in the open. Now, something that I really didn't expect was that in certain modes, you're not able to shoot manually. I shoot manually. I like to control the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, etc. But you're not able to do that in certain modes. I thought that that was a little bit odd, but again, because of the fact that it does so well in auto, I was okay with that. The videos that were produced, I would be able to use, of course, on a personal level, but even so for some of our clients that we were shooting for. Now, in one of these videos, you'll see that the low light performance was really well. It shot good at the local lake. This was actually at sundown, and I didn't use auto at this time. I actually used manual. I set the ISO, I set the shutter speed, and the aperture I set as well. And as you'll see from the video, it looked quite good as well. What about the Evo flight experience? Well, I'll say this. I wasn't disappointed with how it flew, but I wasn't super excited either. The Evo Lite Plus, just like its predecessors, the original Evo and the Evo 2, flies very deliberately. You point it in a direction and you go, it flies there. You want to turn, you want to go somewhere else, you yaw, it does that just fine. It flies very well, easy enough for a beginner to take the sticks and take off. Now, the thing that I was missing from this particular drone was the snappiness that I've found in many of the other drones that I own. And it's not very zippy. Again, it's very deliberate. You point it in the direction, you fly it, and it goes. And it's not the fastest either when not in sport mode. Now, in normal mode, I was able to do everything that I needed. I got all the shots. I went here, I went there. I flew between objects, flew between trees. Everything was fine. Again, it's just not the fastest drone, but something to make mention of is that you are able to adjust the EXP settings. That is the settings for how fast it turns and it accelerates and ascends and descends. That, of course, is done within the Autel app. Once I tweaked those a little bit more, I found that it was flying more like how I would be used to. Now, something else to mention in flying this drone is that it does have front, rear, and also bottom sensors. So that enables it to be able to fly without crashing into objects if facing them or if backing into them. And this is something that many drone owners really appreciate. Now, I, for one, I don't fly with any of the sensors on, and this is simply because I like to get shots where the sensor would normally prevent me from getting those shots, maybe going between objects or flying very close to things as I get a parallax view. That, of course, can be turned off within the app itself. So you can fly with the sensors, or you can turn them off and get a little daring, so to speak. But the sensors, when they are on, they do work quite well. I'm able to detect objects 5 feet out, 8 feet out, 15 feet out, 20 feet out, not a problem. The drone, how I had it set for testing, was for it to brake or stop when it does come to an object. This worked very well. I turned that off, of course, but left the radar on so that I can have some kind of audible and visual signal when I got too close to objects. The next big thing is geofencing. What's geofencing? Well, that's simply where a drone manufacturer will build into the software zones where you are not able to fly into. A lot of these might be around heliports or helipads. There may be geozones that are surrounding jails. Of course, there's geozones around airports with different types of class airspace. This drone, the Autel Evo Lite, does not have any sort of geofencing built in whatsoever. So what does that mean? That means that you can fly wherever you want, whenever you want. Now, being drone owners that are responsible, of course, we want to make sure that we have the proper authorizations whenever we're going to fly into any sort of manned airspace. Battery life. Now, this is something that individuals really are concerned with when they buy a drone. It is advertised that the Evo Lite Plus can get up to 40 minutes of battery life. That's insane. Now, when I flew the drone, I never, ever ran out of battery. Now, the thing is, I generally land around 35%. The way that I fly, I was getting a good 25 minutes or so of flight time. I don't know if this will actually get 40 full minutes, especially with varying flight conditions, but I can tell you that this drone will fly for a very long time. The batteries that we have here, again, they click in quite easily. And once they're in, they won't fall out. Now, again, not sure if you'll get 40 minutes of battery life, but the battery life that you get will be quite long. It's a lot longer than any other drone that I've had in the past, the battery life. Those I used to get maybe when landing about 35%, 17 to 20 some odd minutes, depending on the conditions. So if you get the premium bundle, of course, you'll have all 3 batteries. These, again, will last you easily an hour and a half. If you were to just get the drone without the additional batteries, you'll still get over 30, 35 minutes of battery life. So the battery life on this is excellent. When I took it out for a job, I was actually surprised at how much battery life was left when I landed. I only used 1 battery. I thought I was out there for 45, 50 minutes. It just seemed so long. But I was able to use the drone, shot for 20, 25 minutes, landed before the 35% mark that I normally land at. The next area would be connectivity. How far will this drone fly before it disconnects from this controller? Well, it is rated to be able to fly at a max distance of 7.4 miles. That's a far way out. Now, the thing is, of course, that with the laws that are put in place in the United States, the FAA mandates that drone pilots or drone operators are supposed to stay within visual line of sight. So keeping that in mind, and of course this is based on how far an individual can see without the aid of binoculars. Some individuals can see a half mile out. Some might be able to see the orange drone up to a mile out. But what's most important here is the fact that it has a very strong connection between the controller and also the drone. See, here in Orlando, I do a lot of urban flying. I do a lot of flying downtown among buildings, etc. So there is a lot of interference. Not once flying this drone did I have any sort of interference. I had no disconnects, which of course is great because you never want your drone to disconnect when you're around skyscrapers. But I had no problems. I had no issues in lag. There were no issues in the video feed cutting out. It was a strong signal everywhere that I flew downtown, as well as in local urban areas. So what are my final thoughts on this drone? Well, I think it is an excellent drone. It's one that I would definitely add to my own toolbox when going out to use for professional services. If you're not a business professional who takes photos and videos for clients, this drone is excellent for someone who's a hobbyist who wants the best photos and video that they can have. It's also great for beginners because it's not a large drone by any means, and it is easy to fly. It's not too fast, and if you want it to be a little bit peppier, you're able to change the modes for the flight. You could speed it up, or you can change the EXP settings as well.